Darling, I was thinking. This is one of the phrases that instantly grabs your husband's attention. It's next to, honey, we need to talk, which means I'm mad at you, or I did something you won't like, or does this dress look good on me? Which is always an attempt to either make you tell her that she's the most gorgeous woman you know, or see if you'll actually tell her what you think. Sorry guys, but you can't get out of this trap. Either suck it up and hope since you have a 50-50 chance of fame, or go with the stealth and say, oh honey, this looks as good as ever. There's also the, if you love me, which means she knows you'll object, but she still wants you to do it. I recently did this for you, so, which means she knows what she's asking for. A lot, but wants to make it look smaller by mentioning something she did in a preemptive deal. Or my personal favorite, the always irresistible, I'll make it worth your time, which is always accompanied by a show of breasts or legs, or, if it's really important, by touching and kissing. Of course, most of them are easy to deal with. It's hard for me to say, honey, I was thinking. I could probably diffuse the problem behind this statement by saying what first occurred to me. Congratulations, honey. There's a first time for everything. However, I don't like sleeping on the couch, so I'm very good at keeping my mouth shut. This time I had to say it. I had to block what she was about to say, because her big idea pretty much ruined my interest in sleeping with her anyway. Yes, I would like a sofa today. Our life has changed so much. The children are on their own, we are financially secure, we have no worries. But we are still locked into the routine that we have created over the past 25 years. Get up, go to work, come home, cook dinner, kiss goodnight, go to bed, and repeat it all day after day. I want there to be something exciting in my world. I thought about it. I thought about our daily routine. I suggested traveling more on weekends. Day trips to nearby attractions can be fun. I suggested adding ballet, which she loves, and our local baseball team, which I love, to our subscription. I suggested buying a boat or a motorcycle, tennis lessons, dance lessons, joining a bowling league, taking garden tours, or exchanging books. It's all we've either dreamed about or entertained during our time together, so I thought I'd rekindle some interest to spice up a life where my fair lady has been depressed. My proposals failed. Each of them crashed and burned until I suggested that instead of kissing every night and having sex every week or two, we had sex every night and kissing goodnight every week or two. I joked and let her know it. Actually, I mean something like that. Imagine my surprise. Dear, we are 48 years old. We have sex once every week or two. I know you want more, but it's just so boring. Imagine my surprise. You were the only man I ever loved and will always love, so I don't want you to be angry. I want you to listen to me. This couldn't be good. Diana never beat around the bush. She always got straight to the point. Something big was really brewing in her pretty little head. You're also the only man I've ever made love to, and that makes me curious. I find myself wondering, what's out there? You've always made me happy in bed, but Denise says, here it is. Denise, I could have guessed. She was crazy. She was funny, but crazy. She was ready for anything that involved either nudity or sex. It was only 6 months into her third marriage, and she was deep in search of loser candidate number 4. She had made good money in each divorce and had a lovely little mansion on 5 acres next to the country club, as well as a bank account almost the same size. She had 3 children, 1 from each husband, and they all received child support from their wealthy fathers. Denise has visited every nudist beach in the country and many abroad. She knew the coolest cruises, the hottest clubs, the sexiest adventures. She was the girl who could wear 6-inch stilettos to a church picnic, and no one would bat an eyelid. She oozed lust, and she was my wife's best friend. And I'm doing very wrong if I don't try other guys before I'm too old. So, I suggest you start meeting Denise on Friday nights and explore her world. This is the perfect time before I start looking old and saggy. But since the kids are gone, no one gets hurt. No one will get hurt. My stomach was ready to spread lunch throughout the living room. Yes? No one will get hurt? What about me? Oh dear. Denise said that you may be jealous, but remember, I love only you and always will. But you had experience with other girls before we met, so you know what this area is like. I only know you. Don't I deserve to try some other flavor? Diana. What happens if you like one of these scents so much that you can't refuse it? What if you fall in love with someone else? What will happen to me? I'll lose everything if you do this, and so will you. We have the perfect life, and we'll both be retiring in a couple of years. We can travel, we can explore, and do it together. We are on the cusp of our golden years, when we can rekindle those strong feelings we had in our youth, before our children came along and sent us into parenthood mode. What's in it for me? You know that even in a no-fault state, a man will be raped in a divorce if I even think about it. No, you don't understand. I never want to divorce you, I want to leave you. Honey, I want these golden years to be amazing too. And while Denise says I could really do well financially with a couple of divorces, I can't imagine not spending my old age with you. I knew you would come to this point of view because you are always thinking about everything, and this would be the first argument you would make. So I asked Bobby to write us a contract that clearly spelled out what would happen if we divorced. Now remember, I don't want this at all. This is just to calm your soul. I have read the contract. Bobby was great. It's funny that she's my partner. We run a well-established small two-person firm that provides our clients with excellent general legal advice, not specializing in anything but practicing everything. Bobby took good care of me in this contract. The property division left my wife the house and contents, but gave me our winter apartment, beach house, and my fishing shack. It was financially good, so no complaints. Diana received a good salary and always wanted to keep her own money. We'll have our own bank and investment accounts, and we'll each have our own pension, so everyone gets their own. I paid off the mortgage 2 years ago, so spousal support was not required, and the kids had college funds that could easily put them through college and pay for a good chunk of grad school if they wanted to go. In fact, everything was very neat and clean. Bobby deserved a thank you lunch. However, there will be many questions about why she couldn't have warned me. Of course, there was client confidentiality, but we were partners. Wasn't there a conflict of interest? I figured that was true, but Bobby was also my advocate in this case. So I let her off the hook. Maybe even turn this lunch into dinner. Crap. Bobby and I were amazing work partners, but we spent every unguarded moment flirting like teenage idiots. Wait a minute. That's it. What the heck? So what about me? I had to ask myself this question. Bobby is flirting with me. Clients flirt with me. Neighbors flirt with me. Women at the country club flirt with me. Hell, her best friend Denise openly proposes to me right in front of Diana. Okay, wifey wants to play with some fresh meat. Let be. Does she want to see what's there? Fine. Does she want to compare me to other guys? Fine. I'm not sure she knew what she was doing, throwing me into such a rich environment. I'm not sure she realized that Bobby's contract was written in such a way that the door was open for me to go hunting, too. I signed each copy directly under her name and smiled like a cat getting the cream. Without saying a word, I handed her a copy and put mine in my filing cabinet, which I locked securely. Good baby, you are a free woman. From now on, you can play the way you want. I only ask for 2 things. No games in our bedroom. We need to leave the marital bed just for you and me. And no sloppy seconds. I want there to be a full 48 hours between your last sex and our next. Fair enough? Ooh, Teddy, I like it. But remember, we won't have sex, we will make love. No, Diana. Making love is for 2 people who love each other and only each other. If you start making love, it will be with someone else, and that will be the end for us. As long as our relationship is open, we will have sex. No, baby, you got it wrong. Part of the whole cuckold culture is the affair, where a woman comes home and makes love to her submissive husband. And sloppy seconds are a big part of it. You must accept my extramarital affairs to show me that you love me enough to allow me to explore other men, knowing that I will return to you. Cuckold culture. No, darling, it won't work that way. Read your contract carefully. There's nothing there that describes our relationship as your marriage to a cuckold. A cuckold is a man whose wife has sex with other men while he remains at home faithful or committed. I'm sorry, honey, I can't stand it. In fact, I almost spat out my lunch when you first suggested it today. I have no interest in sharing with you while I'm watching. What was described in your contract was an open marriage. We were both free to have as much fun as we wanted, and there were no rules or guidelines in our agreement. So yes, we are both unrestricted free agents. She picked up her contract and reread it carefully. When she realized what she had done, her shoulders sagged. I knew that the seeds of curiosity had already taken root in her mind. I also knew that she was considering giving up on the idea because it wasn't exactly what she had planned, but her curiosity grew to such an extent that it needed to be explored. If she doesn't do it this way, she will cheat on me sooner or later. But now new seeds have appeared. Now she also had something to lose. She also had to take a risk so that I wouldn't find someone else to love. She also risked everything. The doorbell rang. She slipped out of my office to answer the phone, and I followed her. Denise burst through the door. So he went for it? Diana looked in my direction. Denise followed her gaze and turned to face me. So, Denise, you take my wife away from me every Friday night? Denise was confused. She probably expected me to leave, seething with anger and worry about what I was going to do about Diana's proposal. She didn't say a word, just nodded. It will cost you. This time, Diana and Denise were surprised. If you get it on Fridays, I'll get it on Sunday. The ladies were stunned. I took Denise's head in my hands and pulled her towards me to kiss her. I kissed her deeply and passionately. I didn't even look at Diana. I picked Denise up and carried her into my office, where I bent her over the soft arm of my leather sofa and had her the way I had always dreamed of. We spent 2 hours straight in the office, devouring each other. Diana was right. A piece of fresh meat was inspiring and ignited a spark in me that hadn't seen the light of day since middle school. Denise was quite loud, and less than an hour later, I heard Diana's car start and drive out. I didn't struggle. Never. When my wife returned, Denise had already showered and dressed, and I was grilling steaks. Neither Denise nor I could get Diana to talk over dinner, but the two of us enjoyed an endless stream of conversations, sweet smiles, and strokes. When it was time to leave, I kissed Denise very tenderly, in that special way that always made Diana melt. "See you next Sunday, honey?" I said. "No, I'll see you on Friday when I pick up Diana for the bachelorette party." "Maybe, but you never know. Maybe I'll have a date on Friday." She grinned and left. I grinned and went to watch the Sunday game. Diana cried while washing the dishes. She reached out to me in bed. I held her close to me. She wanted more, but I reminded her that there had to be a 48-hour gap to avoid sloppy seconds. She rolled over, sobbing, and apparently fell asleep only in the morning. Unlike me, I slept like a baby. Monday. Diana, as usual, left for work early. She was a real estate agent, and the early birds got the fat worm. As usual, she left me coffee and breakfast. The newspaper, as usual, lay on the table. Everything was as usual, except for the smile on my face. I had to give my wife credit. A little extramarital activity really got me thinking. I loved my wife. Denise was definitely amazing. This woman knew how to treat me, but nothing could compare to making love to the one. I may have switched roles with Diana, but I didn't like it. I wanted a woman with one man, me, as always. Bobby was smiling from ear to ear when I walked into the office. I told her the whole story, and then invited her to dinner. She said she knew I would understand what she left in the contract for me, and giggled like a schoolgirl when I told her about Denise. She liked my sloppy second rule, and the rule that our bed was sacred. She accepted the offer to have dinner, but on the condition that we go to her place that same evening. We left work together. Dinner was great. The desserts were fantastic. The wines were amazing. And Bobby was hot. We went back to her house and had sex for hours. As we lay in bed, breathing heavily, she told me that she had dreamed of being with me for years. But your marriage was so important to you that I would never do anything about it. I know you love Diana, but when she came up with this crazy idea, I couldn't resist. If only for my one chance to have you. Teddy, tomorrow we will be friends and partners again, but today I enjoyed being your woman. I think she will come to her senses and come back. Maybe Bobby, but if she waits too long, she might have no one to go back to. Baby, if this happens, I want to be first in line. I told Diana she was crazy doing this. You were too good a catch to be released back into the wild. If she's out of sight, you'll be mine. We kissed, and I went home. Diana was asleep, so I took a shower and went to bed in the guest room. However, she was waiting for me at breakfast. Tuesday. So Denise tells me you're the best sex she's ever had. I told her that sex had become boring, and there were nights when I just wanted you to finish quickly. I didn't feel like the work was worth the results. Today she told me I'm an idiot. She also told me that if I did lose you, she intended to make you some for, even if it meant losing her fortune to you in the divorce. Teddy, can we drop this? It was really stupid. I just can't get over the fact that you're making love to Denise, and suddenly I see what I asked you to do in a different light. At first I wanted to jump at her offer, but I needed to make sure her lewd thoughts disappeared. Besides, I was kind of on a roll. After years of making love once every week or two, I slept twice in 2 days. Denise was a petite beauty with brown hair and a sexy machine who moved like she could read her partner's mind. Bobby is a tall, voluptuous blonde. Yes, Pandora's box was wide open and I wanted to play in it. Pandora was hot. Diana, there was a reason for all this. You had a desire that you couldn't contain, you had to act on it. That desire will come back and eventually you will give in and cheat on me. I prefer things to be honest. So go ahead and get your samples. Put it out of my head and see how I handle it. If you get through this month and find that you still miss me and want to go back to just the two of us, we'll do it together. But first, put an end to this. I don't want to hear about it later if you give up on this idea. And if we come back and I catch you cheating, I will divorce you and use this contract against you as my big hammer. She reluctantly agreed. That night she reached out to me again. But not even 48 hours had passed since Denise had screamed in her office, and the news about Bobby had left her stunned. She cried again and could not sleep until my forbidden body embraced her. Maybe Thursday night. Environment. Today is golf day. I only work on Wednesday mornings, and when the weather is good, I go out to play. However, today the weather was not very good. It rained all day. I saw Carla's SUV on the side of the road and parked nearby. She had a flat tire and was struggling with the jack. I jumped out to help her and changed the tire in no time. We were both soaking wet, and she insisted that I follow her home for a cup of hot coffee and lunch. I agreed. She made shitty coffee. But what was remarkable was this woman's body. She took off her blazer as soon as the coffee maker did its job, and my mouth must have dropped open. The white blouse stuck to her from the rain and was soaked through. I could clearly see the intricate lace design on the very sexy bra. I knew it wasn't much more than light, delicate lace, as her shapely breasts were also clearly visible. Calm down, guy. You are a married man. I laughed. My stomach laughed. Well, I had a pretty flat stomach. I kept myself in shape. But if I were fat, I would ruin everything. When I pulled myself together, I explained my wife's stupid plan. Carla laughed. She had a flat stomach too, so her belly didn't wiggle, although it might if she wasn't in shape. She also pulled herself together. Do you know how amazing a woman feels when her skin is moist? It was as if I was completely covered in her. But it was mutual. We tore off our wet clothes and rushed to her shower. We warmed ourselves under the hot water. Then we warmed up in her bed. We warmed up again in our souls. Then I got dressed to go home. Carla hasn't had sex in months since she got divorced. Teddy, I hope that you and Diana will improve your relationship. I mean, I really like you both. You are nice neighbors. But if anything goes wrong, please think of me. I could really fall in love with a guy like you. This is both a request and a proposal. I beg you. As long as you are open with her, please visit me at every opportunity. I didn't say no. Diana was waiting for me. I was late for dinner, but it was okay. She didn't cook anything. We had a nice chat, and she admitted that she had won her first victory. However, she was very disappointed. She showed him the house, and he proposed to her. They negotiated over the phone, and by the end of the day, the owner accepted his offer, and the deal was almost completed. They finished up most of the work in the business center at his hotel, and then celebrated with drinks and food. He invited her to continue drinking champagne in his room. She told him she'd had enough of champagne. She just wanted to have fun. I told you she likes the direct approach. Apparently he does too. As soon as they entered the room, they feverishly undressed each other. He pushed her onto the bed. He was clearly not experienced and had no idea about her hot spots. She tried to imagine sexual things, to feel passion with him, but nothing worked. "Teddy, I almost didn't feel him." The sex was so terrible. When I got home, I was so angry with myself. He was so prude that he lasted this long that he started talking bad things about you. Have you ever had sex that long? How do you like it? Hubby can't touch you where I am, can he? He even continued after we finished. I finally told him to shut up about you. I told him he doesn't stand a chance against you. I told him you even know I'm having fun today, so he didn't even win anything. He looked so sad. So I told him he was very sweet, and I enjoyed our time together and then wished him the best in his move. I even suggested that he invite his wife to dinner. Maybe we could switch places. You should have seen how he stuttered. We laughed about it, and it was the first good moment we shared. She knew I was with Carla. My car was parked there as she drove by her house, and since it was right across the street and 2 houses away, she saw me leave to go back home. "I want you to come back to me. Now I have to wait until Friday for my chance to win you. It's really unfair." The husband comes home to his wife every day for many years. He cares about her. He mows the lawn and acts as a garden slave. He holds her hand when her mother dies. She holds his when his father dies. They bring each other chicken soup when they're sick and share the responsibilities of raising their children. He is there every day. Suddenly the wife says, "This is boring. You keep taking care of the daily nonsense, and I am going to have sex with someone else for fun since you are too tired of everyday things to interest me." Diana, this isn't fair. I still want you to come back. You didn't lose me, but one idiot is not a real specimen. Go scratch your itch, and you still have no right to me. Carla will be 48 hours away on Friday, but one of us will definitely get lucky on Friday night, and I have a date with Denise on Sunday. Looks like next Tuesday is your day. We'll see, she grinned. Thursday. I had beautiful women 3 days out of the last 4. I had 3 women tell me that if my marriage didn't work out, they would wait. I had a wife who had come to her senses, but was still not in a position to be believed or trusted as my one and only. I think I needed a break. Although I was a little lucky. Just as we were about to close the office that evening, a woman walked in. Bobby had an appointment to pick up his car from the repair shop, so I agreed to take care of her potential client. Mary, our office manager and paralegal par excellence, had left a few hours ago, leaving me alone with the tall, dark, olive-skinned beauty. To my delight, she took off her coat. She wore a form-fitting turtleneck sweater dress, cut high enough to show the lace tops of her stockings. The high heels complemented the look so well that it didn't take long before I looked into her deep, dark eyes. "I came for advice on a domestic matter," she said in the sexiest, sultriest alto voice I've ever heard. "My advice is to divorce him and run away with me," I answered calmly. She continued to look into my eyes until I saw them begin to flicker. She started giggling, and soon we were both laughing. I told her I was leaving, but if she hadn't eaten yet, we could talk over dinner. She didn't say no. We discussed her case. She suspected her husband of cheating, but could not prove it. She was terribly upset about the situation and wanted to protect herself in case he suddenly left her. I gave her some advice about protecting her financial assets, closing joint lines of credit, withdrawing half of their joint savings, putting the money in her own account, and hiding some of her family heirlooms such as jewelry, art, and silver, where he couldn't get them. I told her how to monitor his activities by hiding a GPS in his car, activating Phone Finder on his iPad and phone, and even tracking phone usage. I put her in touch with a detective agency in case she wanted to bug her house, or their cars, or have him spied on. I advised her to find a friend or relative to stay with in case things went south, and suggested that she start keeping a daily log of incidents that made her suspicious. "How do you feel about revenge sex?" As she spoke, she reached across the table and took my hand. With her other hand, she undid another button on her blouse, revealing even more of her ample cleavage. I grabbed the outstretched hand with both hands. I feel that this is a flattering offer and an especially tempting prospect, given that I am currently having my own marital problems. But for now, even though you haven't officially hired me, you are my client, and it's a conflict of interest for you to engage in revenge sex. You're fired. I had to laugh at this. Then I have nothing to lose. But before we go, I want you to be sure that this is what you really want. Revenge sex feels good at first, but tomorrow morning it may leave you feeling guilty that you're just as bad as your husband. And if you find yourself wrong in his deception, there will be no turning back. You will be held responsible for causing the rift in your marriage and will potentially become a guilty party in the divorce suit he files. Is this what you want? Her heavy-sig answered my question. I studied her beautiful face as she contemplated her next move. Can I please hire you back? It's a great honor for me. But if I do divorce him and your marriage doesn't improve, we will meet every night for a month when this is all over. I will consider this promise as a deposit. I left the pub feeling pretty good. I was proud that I handled it with integrity and class. On the way home, I stopped at the store to buy a bottle of another wine. I was going to spend the night at home. I might as well have a few drinks. As I was paying, I was surprised by a familiar voice. So, Denise told me that you and Diana had some kind of agreement, and that she had never had anyone handle it the way you did. I turned around and saw Tina smiling at me. Tina was one of Denise and Diana's friends. She was just as wild as Denise, but she played much harder. She was the kind of girl who would give herself to anyone as long as they spoiled the crap out of her first. No, not just dinner and expensive dates. Jewelry must have been involved. Or expensive shoes, furs, paintings. You could date Tina all year, but stay dressed until you take her shopping or offer her a box of pearls or diamonds set in something. I'm sure the dress she was wearing cost at least $1,000, although it was missing fabric at both the hem and the neckline. Her shoes were no doubt in the same price range, and there was no doubt that her heels were worth every penny as they lifted her ass, and calves so sexy. Diamond earrings, pearls around my neck, and a hat that probably cost as much as my car completed the look. Well, Tina, I think only she could know that for sure. I think she also told you about my wife's brilliant idea that our marriage should be open after all these years. Yes, Teddy, she did it. So, since you're kind of free to play, how about you play with me? Darling, what I'm afraid of is your reputation. My reputation? Baby, I'm no wilder than Denise, and you started with her. What's so special about me? Okay, Tina, you told me everything about your habit last summer. You fool guys until they're completely hooked on the idea of sleeping with you, and then you go to Tiffany or Neiman Marcus for some high-end shopping before they can close the deal. I just don't want to leave you a tribute like your dates usually do. So if you want to know if Denise's story was accurate, you'll follow me to the Hilton right now. When we get there, you will give me your pearl necklace and diamond earrings as tribute, and then I will spend the night with you. She hesitated and grabbed her pearl necklace. It was indeed very beautiful, and sat seductively on her ample, albeit surgically enhanced, breasts. This is a one-time offer, Tina. I seem to be attracting a lot of interest as an available single and have no plans to seek you out or consider you again if you reject me. Diana can terminate our agreement any day, so my freedom is significantly limited, and I do not intend to waste a single night on this. She raised her pearl necklace above her head and handed it to me. It was truly beautiful, and the diamonds followed him. If you're as big and hot as Denise says, you can keep the shoes. The Hilton was quite cozy. Breakfast was amazing. I arrived at work quite late, but I didn't have any early appointments. There were a dozen messages from Diana on my phone. I wrote that everything was fine and that I would see her this weekend. Bobby liked the story and quickly noticed that I now looked like a cat that had drunk too much cream. Friday. I returned home late. Diana has already left with Denise and Tina for their bachelorette party. Diana left me a note. She was very upset that I didn't come home last night and that I wasn't there to see her off. She felt that I was not at all supportive of her needs in this project and that we needed to have a serious conversation when she got home. Since I didn't have the courtesy to call her last night, I shouldn't expect her to call tonight. She hoped I enjoyed being in the dark about my spouse's whereabouts, but turning around was fair game and I needed to learn a lesson. Well, of course, she showed me. Now I could look forward to nights of hanging around the house, pacing the floor, worrying about the outcome of her date. Oh, sure, years of marriage, and my only woman did not give me peace. Maybe once a week we will make love. It was perfect for me. Now 5 different women in 5 nights. They all attacked me, most of them offering to take Diana's place if this experiment led to a break. Now that I knew that variety truly was the spice of life, there was no way in hell I was going to waste my Friday night pining for the one woman who had rejected me last week. Ironically, the love of my life was now the only woman who rejected me. Sleeping with her now seemed like a distant memory. If I had my way, it would have to be at least 48 hours more distant. I was about to leave. I went to the city. My kids introduced me to alternative rock music, and there was a concert at Radio City featuring 3 great bands. I took a great place and plopped my butt down in the first row of the balcony, in the aislet. I was quickly surrounded by a group of hot 20-year-olds. Fine. Yes, they were adults, but at my agey, they were children to me. Sure, I got a few taunts about being out of place, but the chick who teased me about missing a Guy Lombardo concert for a couple of decades had such a sweet smile that I couldn't risk not smiling back. Of course, when the first band fired up the room, I was up singing and dancing along. Yes, I knew every word to every song that all the bands would play that night. I've reached a new level of cool. Of course, buying a few beers helped. And when they handed me a funny cigarette, I didn't refuse it. Somehow I managed to dance the night away in the aisles with all of them. And as we were leaving, Guy Lombardo's girlfriend grabbed my arm, declaring that I was going with them. I'm too old to have fun with you guys. I know, but we think you're good for at least one more round. I was definitely qualified, and I was good for someone else. Eventually, the boys paired off with the girls, but that night there were fewer men than women in the herd. By the time round 4 came around, there were 3 of us. At least the cartridges were gradually becoming cheaper. After my first sip, Guy Lombardo's girlfriend looked at me, grabbed my face, and pulled me into a deep, juicy kiss. She tasted like a margarita. Her friend declared that she deserved attention too, and when the first girl broke the kiss for air, the second one continued where she left off. This set the time for the night. Their apartment was just a block away. I don't remember how we got there. I remember clothes flying off bodies, and the bodies they came off were incredible. When my boxers fell off, the girls looked at each other, then raised their eyes to the sky and rushed towards me, like animals at a watering hole after a month-long drought. I had forgotten how soft and supple young skin can be, but it was enough to bring back my memories. Smiles will last a long time. As I was leaving, I found Tina's gifts in my pockets. No, not panties. I left them on the kitchen table at home for Diana to find and cry a little. The earrings looked great on Guy Lombardo's girlfriend, and the pearls looked great on her friend. They were delighted and amazed at the same time. Now I was a sexy Robin Hood, seducing the rich and giving to the young and needy. However, jewelry really is a girl's best friend. They convinced me to spend Saturday walking through museums and Central Park, and Saturday night at a blues bar in Brooklyn, followed by another night of grueling sex. I kissed them goodbye late Sunday morning and headed home to see... Yeah, I bet you thought I'd say Diana, didn't you? Never. Sunday was Denise's day. I wasn't sure how I felt about Diana at that moment. She was more than just a roommate. I still loved her, of course. We lived our whole lives together, raised children, had great times, and helped each other through difficult times. But when it came to inserting tab A into slot B, as the instructions stated, my tab A had no interest in slot B. In fact, slots C and D had very little appeal either. I just wasn't inclined to consider her a sexual partner. Could it be that my wife's desire to experiment and open up our relationship has led her straight into the friend zone? When I returned home, she was waiting for me in the living room. Obviously, all was not well in paradise. Diana was very upset that I wasn't home all day on Saturday and had been seething with anger since she got home on Friday night. You need to seriously explain everything. Hello to you too? How was your weekend? I got laid on Friday night, thank you very much. And I finally found a man who knew how to treat a woman, if you ask me. I really wanted to share my feelings with you, but you weren't home. Who the hell are you playing with? Girls, 2. Very young. Incredible. Well, that was pretty clear and actually pretty straightforward. Diana went crazy, muttering some nonsense about how everything was supposed to go. I wasn't really listening, but she was on a roll. There was something about the natural flow of infidelity and how it was supposed to bring us closer. Talking about our experiences when they were over and how I was supposed to be at home thinking about it to build anticipation for our reunion and our lovemaking will be much stronger. It doesn't take many eyes until you completely lose your male audience. In fact, the husband's manual instructs us to start thinking about something completely independent of you with the help of the second and, being careful to insert a reasonable yes dear at least every 90 seconds to reinforce your resolve and convey your point of view is long enough for us to complete the whole daydream, preferably involving someone with big breasts, long legs, and hair that flows down as she lies naked next to us in bed. But during this particular speaking engagement, what brought me back to the conversation was, "You should have." Now, if there's one catchphrase mentioned in the husband's guide that can counteract the "and" line, it's "you should have." Now, there are several acceptable responses to the "you should have" argument. The guy can ignore this and return to his blissful dream world where a very young Audrey Hepburn lures him into her lair, where she will finally reveal her perfect body for his pleasure. Not a bad choice. Or he may choose a stronger response that challenges his wife's assertion that she had reason to expect him to follow her wishes, such as, "Since when should I?" which challenges her assertion of authority, denying any agreement that would give up control, or the "when did we decide?" that returns his share of the decision-making partnership, the main trump card recommended to women by The Idiot's Guide to Controlling and Ignoring a Spouse. Gradually, increasingly assertive responses range from "I never said," which is always guaranteed to result in a losing argument, because she has the videotape, to "I never intended," which can be a closing argument if delivered in an aggressive tone, but can also mean stopping sex for at least a month. Or you can simply use that simple saying that men have relied on since the days of Cro-Magnon when dealing with a difficult wife. "I'm so upset by your assertion that you have the right to determine what should I do. What should I do? What should I do? And if you don't shut up right now, I'll feed your entire shoe collection to my dog." That day, I decided to use the classic 2-word version. Fuck you. Diana was a little puzzled. I don't think she appreciated this meeting any better than my reaction to her decision to cuckold me. I wonder how she thought that this attempt to gain the upper hand in this situation by nagging or pestering me would work better than her announcing that she was terminating our exclusive relationship agreement that was made a week ago. I watched the wheels turn in my wife's head. I watched as she realized she had nothing to argue with. She wanted out so badly that she tried to negotiate a legal agreement to protect her from losing everything in a divorce. She lost control exactly where she wanted it, failing to regulate my access to sex and guarantee my status as a weak, reluctant cuckold languishing under her spell. Meanwhile, she discovered that the man she was tired of was full of qualities desired by other women. The final trump card, his access to sex, which should have become extremely valuable thanks to its rationing, suddenly became available to him every day from a variety of sources. At the same time, her access to tender love-making sessions with him was no longer available to her, but was being tried, much to the delight of a friend, a neighbor, and a stranger half her age. To make matters worse, all his new lovers had managed to let her know how jealous they were that she had enjoyed a monopoly on a man like him all these years. She heard about his gentle touch, his handsome face, his strong hands, his wonderful dignity, his patience in bed, his intuitive way of giving them what they needed, and his endurance as a lover. They were even surprised at his masculinity. Imagine a man his age spending an energetic night in bed with a different hungry woman every night this week. He'd spent the last 2 nights in a row with 2 girls, half his age, and yet here he was, ready for his Sunday date with her best friend. Can we change our minds? I'm listening to it. I was wrong. You think? You're not going to let me get off easy, are you? Never. It's kind of a big deal. She paused to think. I knew she was on the right track. I knew she was ready to offer to go back to where we were before she decided we needed to talk. However, there was no way I was going back to where we were before. Damn if it could happen once with warning, it could happen in the future without warning. I guess you're worried about our future. After all, you didn't expect this, and if we can burn this contract, I'll agree to a new one that says everything you want to say if you bring me back as your only woman, like we were before. I sat and thought about her words. At least I pretended to think it over. Of course, I wanted her to come back as my only woman. It's all I ever wanted. I know I should have been hurt by what she did. I was hurt. It just didn't hurt as much anymore. I mean, I had help from Denise, Bobby, Carla, my olive-skinned client, Tina, Guy Lombardo's girlfriend, and her dazzling friend, now in pearls and diamonds. Yes, a week with 7 different sexy women put a lot of balm on my broken heart. But I plan to make Diana work hard. Pleasure below the belt on demand, in any position I like, wherever I say, as long as it does not involve public shame or danger. She blinked. This type of sex was not her favorite unless she was having it. Her head bowed, and a very gentle voice answered, "Agree." She was ready to agree to anything. Before I was done, she had agreed to wear ultra-sexy costumes for Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and my birthday. I initially suggested Rosh Hashanah and Chinese New Year as well, but took them off the table when she objected on the grounds that they were not holidays we had ever celebrated. After all, we were neither Jews nor Chinese. She agreed to sleep naked every Friday night, no matter how cold, as long as I provided an electric blanket in the winter, wear a French-maid outfit to clean the house every Saturday morning while I shared housework with her, serve me and my friends drinks and snack wearing a little black dress with heels and lace stockings on Sunday, the Super Bowl and Game 1 of the World Series, taking off 1 item of clothing every hour on any long car rides while I'm driving, sunbathing topless on our back deck to ensure no tan line, her entire body smooth and her hair free except on her head. Yes, I'll put it all down on paper. However, the actual contract read differently. 15 minutes after she agreed to be mine until we died, I placed this contract in her hands. We, the undersigned, hereby agree. First, love each other completely and be exclusive until death. Second, that the events of the past week are hereby forgiven, but never forgotten, as they are a warning of what we both stand to lose. Third, that in the future, if either party attempts to go beyond the boundaries of our relationship, as defined by our original marriage vows, and discussions with the other spouse do not find a solution, they will either immediately will refuse all offers of their offensive actions, or will immediately leave the marriage, sacrificing all claims to wealth, property, and financial benefits. My signature was already on the document. Diana read it carefully, fully expecting it to be full of the legal pitfalls that Bobby had built into our existing agreement. Of course, there were none. It really only required what we had always had, with the exception of the third point, which required communication about anything that deviated from the norm, including involving others in our personal lives. This also included protection to keep our original vows. So you don't want me to wear thongs and knee socks every day? Well, yes, actually. So you're taking me back? Yes, but only you. No one else comes close to our sex life. I'll fix it, Ted. Just getting back to being my loving lady. No, baby, I'll feel better. No, there is nothing to invent here. Point 2. You are forgiven. I'll tell you everything you want to know about the women I've been with this week. Anything you ask, I will answer after we sign. Just don't ask anything you don't want to hear because you'll just as easily forgive me as soon as you agree with point 2. For the record, I never want to know about your adventures. I don't even want to know who they are. You do not care? Oh yes, I don't care. Although I probably would have killed them. So keep me away from jail and away from the hospital or morgue. I do not want to know. If I know them, warn them to be afraid and never tell me about it. Don't smirk. Don't gossip. Don't even flirt with them. Are you serious? You've got to be kidding me. Now you're jealous. I've been hoping all week that you would react to this with a little jealousy. Okay, Ted. I was stupid to start this thing. You didn't even fight for me. Now you're telling me you're jealous? Diana, everything is different now. Now I want to hold you. Whatever is going on in your head is over. Now you are mine. Last week I believed that you wanted to be someone else's. I wasn't going to fight for someone who didn't want me. When I seduced Denise, I was going to replace you. I didn't want Denise, but I wanted to explore every shape, size, and type of woman before settling down with a new wife. I tried 7. 2 may have been candidates in your absence, but no one compares to you. Now that you want to be with me from now until eternity, I will fight any battle for you. She signed immediately. So, Teddy, do you think you could show me what I've been missing? First, you have to throw your old contract in the fireplace. Mine is already there. Then burn it. She went upstairs and picked up her copy. God bless Bobby. She probably saved our marriage with this beautiful, clever document. She set the papers on fire, and soon this chapter of our lives turned to ashes. Now, Ted, we can go upstairs and make love. I laughed. It wasn't the funny laugh or the sarcastic laugh that I've used so often this week. I actually giggled at the irony. No, dear. We are still in the 48-hour cooling-off period between them. I didn't have time to finish. She tore my clothes off and threw me to the floor. Nature took its toll. Now, every time she says, "Honey, I've been thinking," I quickly respond, "Unless it's about getting into bed with me, keep it to yourself." I know this is not the approved answer from the husband's guide, but it works for me. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.